Welcome back. There are many great things to see and do at CattleCon, but Cattlemen's College always draws a crowd. In addition, there are also valuable cattle handling demonstrations. And joining us now to discuss these efforts is stockmanship expert Dean Fish. Dean, why is producer education so important at events like CattleCon?
Producer education is a key component of CattleCon, and I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunities to fit anybody, anytime during the convention. You've got the Cattlemen's College, you've got the learning lounges, we've got the demo arena, we've got the Shoots and Scales showdown. You can talk to vendors. Tremendous amount of information that's available out there that producers can take back, figure out whether that fits their operations or not, and how those will impact their profitability and sustainability.
So what's the value of having cattle handling demonstrations at convention?
So cattle handling, turns out, is one of the most popular things that we do at the cattle convention. And that's just a way for us to show kind of local and regional stockmanship and stewardship practices. And then we have Mr. Kurt Pate and Dr. Ron Gill come in, two of the I consider the godfathers of stockmanship and stewardship and cattle handling, coming in 4 times a day and talking and showing and demonstrating how to properly move and handle cattle and do that in a low stress manner. Tremendous value to our convention participants.
You work with a great group of people for those demonstrations. Tell us a little bit about your team.
So the stockmanship and stewardship demonstrations in the demo arena on the trade show floor are put together by our good friends at NCBA for our producers. So we have Mr. Kurt Pate and Dr. Ron Gill, who are both world-renowned clinicians, teaching those sessions. In addition to that, they can go over and check out the Shoots and Scales, but that stockmanship and stewardship demos are not only taking relevant current practices, but actually showing and demonstrating those for our participants.
So what are a few of the tips you always try to share with producers when you get a chance to present at CattleCon?
So some of the tips that I think are really, really important when we're talking about effective cattle handling are, number one, being quiet. Understanding that, we're a predator and we're adding pressure to maybe an already stressful situation. So that being said, being quiet and being thoughtful in how we approach and move around cattle is really important. The other thing that I think is understanding pressures. So how do we apply that pressure? Know when we're applying that pressure, how much of that pressure we're applying, and then when to release it. So being able to kind of just study and read and pay attention to that pressure and release is really, really important. Those 2 things I think are really, really important to be a good cattle handler.
There's no doubt that good cattle handling can make a rancher's life easier, but are there also benefits that reach all the way to the consumer?
So obviously good cattle handling pays off at the ranch there. It's safer for our producers, it's safer for those animals, we have less injuries, and those animals can stay content. I think that translates all the way down to when that animal turns up on a plate. And I think that we set that animal up for success, like we do with our good vaccines. We set that animal up for success with the way that we handle them, by being able to implement ways in which they can handle stress, and then us not putting additional stress on them as they go through that process. Anyway, those benefits translate all the way down, and in turn benefit those producers and everyone that owns those cattle along that route, because they're economically beneficial. If that cow is thinking about eating and doing her job or his job, they're not getting stressed and losing weight, they're gaining weight.
So I'm curious, what kind of reaction do you get from people about these live cattle demonstrations?
So people love the live cattle demonstrations, and we'll have 4 sessions a day during CattleCon, and people will come back to all 4. Just because they'll pick something up new every time. And so, regardless of whether you work on foot, whether you use side-by-sides, horses, dogs, there's always something that people can pick up during each of the sessions. And so people really, really enjoy coming back and learning different pieces of that. And just watching Kurt and Ron work, that's just fun to do.
Thanks, Dean. We'll look forward to seeing you in Orlando.
Thanks, Kevin, for having me on. We'll see you in Orlando.